Welcome. Again, it's Samantha Russell speaking, and we're really excited to have everyone joining us today to talk about landing pages. So I'm excited to have Ryan Russell here today as well. He's going to be sharing a little bit more about how to actually build a landing page using 20 over 10. Which I know a lot of you are really excited to learn the specifics of how do I get that page set up, get the buttons added, the images. But before we dive into that, we're going to talk a little bit more about specifically what landing pages are and some use cases for how you can be best using them. So since we're at the top of the hour, we'll go ahead and dive right in. I do want to just make a couple of housekeeping announcements. In terms of the way the presentation goes, it will be recorded. So if you have any questions after the fact, you'll be able to see the recording and view it at your leisure, and we will email it out to everyone. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, you can use the Q&A panel to ask them, and that will only be given to the panelists, or you can put them in the chat box, and those will be accessible to everyone who's on the call today, so we can all see them. I also have somebody in the background, Amanda Larson from our team, who she'll be putting some links into the chat box and answering questions live there as well. So feel free to ask away. We do have a couple polls that we wanted to launch as well, just to get a sense of where everyone's at, and it'll help us tailor the conversation a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the first one. If you could take just a minute to answer it while I pull up the agenda of what we'll be talking about today, that would be great. And then I'll share the results. So for today's agenda, we are going to go over, again, first what a landing page is and how you can use them to better capture leads, drive traffic, and eventually convert those leads to prospects. We'll talk about some different use cases, when and how you should use those landing pages, and then the specific elements when it comes to designing the landing page so that you get the highest percentage of people converting. We will talk about opt-ins and language you can use to get people to sign up for your offer or give up their email address to you, and just some overall do's and don'ts when it comes to designing them. And then again, we'll end on actually pulling up the 20 over 10 interface and showing you the platform. Okay. Some people are saying they can't see the screen. Please let me know if you guys can see the presentation that I do have pulled up. I have the agenda pulled up. And if not, I'll try resharing it. So I'm going to end that poll. It looks like most people have answered. And it looks like about 60% of you say you do know what a landing page is. So that's fantastic. The other 40% either aren't sure or don't. So we'll just very briefly cover that, since a large percentage of you do know what they are. And let me just launch one more poll here. So this one is just about, if you are using landing pages, how are you currently using them? So this will give us a sense of some use cases that you're all using within your, own businesses. And most people saying that they can see my screen. So great. Thank you for letting me know. So this is just if you are currently using any landing pages yourself. Are you using them, or no, you haven't dived in yet to actually getting started using them for your own business. So I'll just give you guys another minute or two to answer. Okay, so whopping 72% of people are saying no, they are not using a landing page for their current business. So make sure you stay on to the end if you can, because the last 25 minutes or so, we're just going to actually show you how to build a landing page live, which is what it's all about, right? You want to know the practical takeaways for how to get one set up for your own business. All right, so that is all of the housekeeping, so we can dive right in, and I can just give you a little bit of background. If you've never joined one of our presentations before, I'm Samantha Russell, the Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer here at 20 over 10. We do a webinar like this every single month, so thank you for joining us. And I'm joined today by Ryan. Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, everyone. My name is Ryan Russell. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of 20 over 10. And many of you I've had the opportunity to talk to either via webinars, demos, maybe at conferences. But for all intents and purposes today, I am serving as the Vanna White of this duo, and I'll be doing a little demo here at the end where we're actually going to be in 20 over 10's dashboard actively working on how to create landing pages that are both effective and really well designed. So you'll hear from me in a little bit.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive right in. So just to cover our bases of, for those of you who said you don't know what a landing page is, a landing page is a website specifically designed to convert visitors into leads. So let's talk about that again. It's specifically designed to convert visitors into leads. In order to do that, it's going to get some piece of information from the visitor. And we'll talk about what that information could be. But when it comes to how it's structured on your website, I pulled up an example here to show you. So if we come to this demo page that we have here at 20 over 10 for this fictitious company, Fresno, we can go through their site and see who we are and, the clients they serve and the services that they provide and all that information. But nowhere on the page do we have the ability to get to this page, which is this retirement planning checklist page, where they're offering this 5 years to retirement in New York, a 5-step guide. That's because we don't just want, anyone from the website necessarily coming to this page as part of the main navigation. It's a completely separate use case where we're going to very specifically drive traffic to this page to obtain email addresses and other contact information from those visitors in order to convert them. So that's when we talk about landing pages, what we mean is a page that's not accessible from the main navigation or sub-navigation of your website. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. The way that you use the page can take various forms, but in its essence, in terms of the way it's designed of the site architecture, it's not accessible from the main navigation or the sub-navigation. So it's not tied to any of those main pages. Okay, so let's just dive right in and talk about some use cases for how you might use landing pages. The very first one is one that I've seen a lot of advisors doing, which is great. So you are on social media, you're sharing something on LinkedIn, you are maybe doing like a paid advertisement on Facebook, and you want to direct people from that ad that you're running on social media to your website. But you don't want to just send them to your homepage, right? So let's say the ad on Facebook is all about how you build portfolios specifically for clients that are very tailored to their level of risk. And so then the bottom of the Facebook ad, the call to action is find out your own risk score. Rather than just send them to the homepage of your website, which would be very confusing for those folks as they landed, like where am I going? You could send them to this specific page that is built. Do you know your risk number? And then you take 2 minutes to fill it out. And in this case, your goal would be to get folks to enter in their information, including their email, where now the information is being entered into your Riskalyze tool, and you can collect that information. So Riskalyze here is a third-party tool where we would be using on the landing page. You don't have to use Riskalyze though, right? You could just have an ebook or a guide. The whole point is you're going to build a specific page for that Facebook campaign or that LinkedIn campaign that matches, the landing page matches the ad that you run on social media. So our goal here would be to get email addresses. But what about if you already have someone's email address, right? And you want to drip on them over time. You don't want to just keep sending them back to your generic, homepage of your website that they saw a million times when they first visited. So in this use case, we could build a landing page to try to book meetings from visitors that have already visited our page and we've gotten their email, right? So we know that on average, people are going to take 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times of interacting with your website, with your landing pages, before they ever even connect with you via email or phone call or booking a meeting. And so just getting their email that first time isn't enough. We need to be able to start sending them regular email communications. But when we send them that email, we want to have some sort of call to action that entices them to take the next step. So in this case, our email might say something like, book your free business valuation meeting. So connect with us to get a meeting on the books to find out what your business is worth. And you can create a whole landing page about how you work with companies to help them assess what their company value really is, what it's worth, and you can help them create that valuation. So you would send out an email, you would include a link to this landing page, and then once they get on the landing page, they'll get a ton of information about the value that it provides, what they'll get from the meeting, and then they can book a meeting directly on the landing page. Now, you might be wondering, well, why wouldn't I just put the meeting link directly in the email? And you could. One of the great things about landing pages, though, is that you then have this page set up that you can use in multiple iterations. And also for tracking purposes, you're going to get to see how many people, even if they don't book the meeting, click the link because they're interested. So then you can gauge, all right, so I sent this email to 100 people, 50 people clicked the link. I can track that in my Google Analytics. And of those 50, 10 people actually booked the meeting. Well, what happened to the other 40? How can I better optimize my page? So you can start really doing some testing now to determine how they're dropping off. So by building this landing page for this specific use case, you not only can book meetings with people you already have email addresses for, you can actually track how many are interested enough to land on the page, but your offer isn't compelling enough to make them want to book, and you can entice them a little bit further. So the third use case that we have here would be to promote an event or a webinar. I know a lot of you have talked to me specifically, that you've attended our webinars here at 20 over 10, and you have great information and content you'd love to share with prospects. And you've thought about hosting webinars, but you're just not really sure about how to set it up. How would you collect the signups, and what would you do? So once you decide, whatever tool you're going to use, third-party tool, we here use Zoom. That's what you're all on today. Whether it's Zoom or GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, whatever tool you're using, you would be able to build a landing page specifically to promote that event and get signups. So you can see here in this example, they have a webinar that they're hosting, and there's, enticing people to join them for that webinar, and you can click directly to register. So again, by building out this landing page, not only can people directly go to it to sign up, we also can see from the analytics how many people came to the page but never registered, right? Which is also very, very important, because we can then play around with our offer and how enticing it is. So promoting an event, it could also be an in-person event. Maybe you have an annual Christmas party, or you bring in an appraiser to appraise your clients' antiques and valuables, and you want them to sign up. Having just a dedicated page to do that on your website that's not on your main pages where you're going to have just any old person come across it and sign up. This is very targeted then only to the people you email this link to, right? So it just allows us to very much gate who is finding these pages. You could also use a landing page to follow up after an event. So in this scenario here, we are talking about, we hope you enjoyed our presentation. Here's what you can do next to get more information about what we offer. And of course, to target a niche. So this is really important. I talk to so many people who are so afraid to be hyper-specific about who they work with on their main pages of their website because they don't want to turn anyone away. I cannot stress enough that having a page set up to explicitly outline how you work with a certain group of people, it works. People like to read about how you help people like them. But I understand why you might not want to get so hyper-specific right on your homepage, or even in the clients you serve type of a thing, because you're scared of driving people away. You can use landing pages to be incredibly hyper-specific about a certain niche, to build that rapport, to showcase your expertise. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you work with a lot of executives, and the executives that you work with tend to all work for 4 or 5 organizations. Rather than just saying, I work with a lot of C-suite execs in Silicon Valley, you could have a page that would be how I work with executives at Uber, or how I work with executives at, Airbnb, and then specifically outline in that landing page what you know about their benefits, what you know about their different stock options, and then you could be sending those pages specifically to those groups. Because these pages are so simple to set up, you can create as many as you want of these landing pages. It's a way to have a page that you can email to a prospect that is very hyper targeted to them. Additionally, you can have an offer, like in this example here, where this client is working with attorneys. They have a ebook or white paper specifically for that niche, right? So if, again, they're going to do a Facebook campaign, or they're going to do an email campaign or a LinkedIn campaign, they can then send all of that traffic to this particular page to sign up. So I think you guys are all aware of a lot of these use cases, but you're just not sure, how do I actually build one for my business? So hopefully that explains the overall use cases. I know I went through that kind of quick, but I do think most people are aware of them. So now I'm going to just go over pretty briefly the anatomy of the landing page. So as you're building it, and again, we will share this presentation because I know everyone's going to furiously write these down. These are the tried and true strategy of how to build it so that it will convert the people who land on it to actually complete your call to action, your CTA. So the very first thing is your headline. You want to quickly sum up the offer as clearly and concisely as possible, but still in a way that makes people be interested. A poorly written headline can have you dropping off like 90% of the visitors as soon as they click, right? If it's not enticing to them, they're not going to stay. So what is the person going to get? That's what the headline is. I just wrote down a couple other ones that I thought I saw recently that were great. So somebody had Money Matters, your guide for financial security, about an ebook that they had written. Another one I saw was get a free strategic analysis of your current portfolio, right? So those are nice, bold headlines that capture the attention and make somebody want to learn more about your offer. So in this example here, we have the 3 free checklists as well as download your 3 retirement checklist. Both of those would be considered the headline. The second element to the landing page is that you really want to hide the main navigation of your site. So you can see here on this example, there is no links up here to our services, contact us. There's no other pages to the website for you to click over to. The only thing you have is the logo available. And we're going to show you how you can do that using the 20/10 platform, how you can hide the navigation. But why is this important? When we send someone to a page, we're trying to capture them there and make it so that they have 2 options. They can either click out or they complete the call to action that we've given them and they convert. When we start having like a button for our services or a button for webinars or a button for resources, we make them want to go and click over onto those buttons and learn more about those other services. So by concentrating their attention on your just one main end goal to get them to sign up and convert, you will see your conversions skyrocket. If you have too many options or competing calls to action, you will not get the same number of people converting. So hiding your navigation, and navigation again would just be, if we're up on here, the who we are, services, news, that's your navigation. So what I'm saying is you don't want to have all of these other options available on that landing page. The third the third component would be a little bit of context about what it is you're providing. So this could be a paragraph, it could be a couple sentences. It's just a bit more info about what it is they're going to get in this guide or this ebook or whatever it is that you're asking them to sign up for. So in this option here, we have learn how to prepare for retirement from 5 years out to the day before. The next piece, and this is a really important one, is what is the value that the person who completes this action is going to get? So here we have, a few bullet point options of exactly what they will learn by giving up their information to get this guide. People are incredibly protective of their contact information, of course, and we don't want to give out our emails or phone numbers to just anyone anymore. We want to know that what we're going to get for it is going to matter. And so you need to be highly specific about what it is they will learn and the value of what you will provide. Another thing that can give a sense of the value is the image that you include. So images can really, really impact conversions. I always say if you have the ability to share, either if it's like a long ebook, a few pages from that ebook, or in this case, if it's a checklist, a preview of what the checklist looks like, you will notice that you will get so many more people converting. We are visual beings, and we want to see what it is we're going to get, and we don't read everything on a page typically. So just by conveying a visual image that backs up what it is we're talking about, we will see our conversions increase. I've actually seen a few advisors do this, and I've seen this in other industries, which is really interesting. If you can record a quick video giving a preview of what it is that your ebook or your white paper or your checklist is all about, even better, and you will see even more conversions. So let's say right here there was a video that said, get a preview of your 3 retirement checklists, and you just used software like Zoom, Loom video recording is another popular one where you did a screen share and you just kind of scrolled up to show the person what it is they would get when they download your giveaway. You will see your conversions go through the roof again, right? Because we want to see what it is we're going to get and the value that will come from signing up. So the last component, which is really, really important, is a really big, bold call to action. So CTA stands for call to action. This is how you're going to capture those leads or drive those conversions. So the number one thing to remember is that the less information you ask for, the higher percentage of capture you will get. So what I mean by that is if you only ask for someone's email address, that's usually going to get the highest percentage of people completing it. If you ask for email and name and phone number, especially phone number, you'll see a lot less people completing it because people just don't want to be called by strangers. However, if you're only looking for maybe the most well-qualified or people that actually fit your demographic, then including more fields will weed out some of those people that wouldn't be a good fit. So it's up to you. You know, again, the less fields that you make someone complete, the more likely you are to have a higher percentage of conversions. The more fields you have, you'll see a lot less conversions, but they may be more quality conversions. So keep that in mind as you're building those out. But a few other things just about the button itself. You can see in this example, it's bright, it stands out from the rest of the text. In some of the previous examples I showed, you notice that they didn't have a button. They just had hyperlinked text that said like click here. That's not a good way to do it, right? It gets buried in the paragraph text and our eye doesn't know where to go to take the next step. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to do the next thing. Think of your own behavior on the internet. How many times have you been on a page and you were going to do something and you got distracted and left because you couldn't find it right away? The more that you can make sure that you make it really easy for someone to find where they should go next, the better. In terms of just the components of this landing page that I've just went through, we have a whole blog post on landing pages and setting them up and do's and don'ts with best practices. So we'll make sure that we link that when we send the webinar recording out to everyone, and Amanda can put it in the chat box here. But these are the 6 main components of the landing page that you want to pay attention to. Oh, and one other thing. With your actual button, you always want to make sure that you're leading with a verb, right? So something like get your free guide or schedule your free consultation or yes, send me this. That's the best way. You want it to be an action-oriented verb is how you want to set up that actual button to get the highest number of conversions. Okay, so let's just briefly talk about a couple do's and don'ts, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, who's going to show us how to actually build one of these landing pages. So when it comes to setting up your pages, you want to make sure that you're matching the design and the language of every landing page to not only just your overall brand, but all of the marketing that you're doing. So what I've seen a lot of people do is they'll have a website that they spend all this time and effort and money creating, and then they use a completely different platform to create landing pages, and it doesn't match the rest of their brand and it's not cohesive. You don't want to do that. It doesn't look professional. People don't always know it's the same company. So use as much as you can, make sure that that design is going to match up. Additionally, if you launch an ad on Facebook or you have a post and you're trying to drive traffic, or you send out an email, whatever visuals that you use in that social or email language, you know, the language you use, the images you use, the headline, it should all match what the person sees when they eventually make it to your page, right? So if you have Money Matters, your guide for financial security, get your guide now in Facebook, when they land on your page, that's exactly what they should see as well. You don't want to have two different headlines because it's confusing. We don't know if we're on the right page or not. So make sure those two match up. Secondly, make sure you only have one call to action per landing page, just one. Again, we're trying to hyper focus everybody into that funnel to make them complete the action we want them to take. And then of course you want to make sure all of your landing pages are both mobile friendly and search engine friendly. So include whatever keywords that would be important for your business. And then fourth, I did mention this, but track your performance and optimize. So if you set up one of these landing pages and you're driving all this traffic to it and nothing's happening, sadly, I can't tell you how many times people will say, well, I tried doing landing pages, but nothing happened from it, so I stopped. Well, that doesn't mean they don't work. It means the landing page you set up wasn't working for some reason. So why is that? We need to think about, were people clicking on it? Were they not making it through the funnel? And figure out how we can optimize it. So tracking the performance is really crucially important. A few things to don't do. Don't be afraid to build out a little bit more of a robust page. I see a lot of people who think everything needs to fit on one screen for it to be considered a landing page, and that's just not true. You know, you might have your hero text at the top and then scroll down a little bit and have a preview of the ebook and some information about why it's valuable, and then even below that, maybe like a testimonial of somebody who used the ebook or read it and found value in it. So a little bit of scroll is okay. Don't forget that images or videos really will drive conversion. So, you know, if you send out a landing page to 100 people and you get 5 signups, and then you went in and you added a video of yourself talking about the value they'll get, all of a sudden you could see the number of people, who convert jump by 50, 100, 200%. Don't forget to not ask for too many pieces of information, and don't forget to turn off that main navigation when you're building out the page. So I'm going to turn things over to Ryan and make him the host. But while we're doing that, if anyone has any specific questions about the elements that we covered, I'd be happy to answer that. Ryan, I'm going to make you the host here. I'm sorry, stop sharing and make you can just share your screen, Ryan.
All right. So, Sam, can you see my screen okay?
Yes. Wait. Sorry. I was still seeing my screen. Yes, I can. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. So right now what I've done is I have logged into my 20 over 10 account. So on my dashboard, I'm able now to control effectively everything about my website, from the look, the feel, the content, etc. We'll go over a couple things today. We have some strategies that Samantha talked about that we'll kind of walk you through. And certainly this, we really want to take some time to really kind of walk you through exactly how to accomplish this. One of the things we take a lot of pride in at 20 over 10 is that our website dashboard is very, very intuitive. So whether you are very tech savvy or, email still gives us trouble from time to time, this is going to be a tool that you can actively use to be able to do just that. So with that in mind, I do have some content pre-prepared here. So I just have kind of a Google Doc of some things that I'll use to build my page. I think this is a good strategy, and it's kind of really up to you in terms of personal workflow, putting them in a Word document or a Google Doc. But keep in mind, too, that you can work directly in the dashboard and start typing out content and adding content. And the nice thing there is that it is, spell check is included, and so you can do it on the fly. Now, in our in our dashboard, you'll see to the left our main navigation. And our main navigation would basically hold all of the pages that comprise and make up our main navigation and sub-navigation pages too. Where we're going to live today is in this section called Other Pages. And Other Pages are pages that exist at your domain that are not linked through the main navigation or sub-navigation. So they're very difficult to get to if you don't give someone that direct link. So to Sam's point earlier, you're able to share this link with individuals via social media or via email lists, lots of different ways to drive specific individuals, groups of individuals back to a page to give them a very tailored, customized experiences, right? So down here next to Other Pages, to add a landing page to your website, all you have to do is click Add New, and you'll see that you have a lot of different types of pages that you can add. The most common, of course, just being the standard page. And a standard page, basically gives you a page where you can start to add in your content. Now, we'll want to add some basic page settings to this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll use some of the resources, Financial Life Back on Track, just as an example.
I think, Ryan, if we should just preface this by saying this use case would be what the use case would be. So this would be if we wanted to build out a landing page in this first iteration we already have someone's email and we want to get them to come back to a piece of content, to download it, to show our expertise and our thought leadership, and get them to book a meeting on our calendar.
Yeah, so at this point, to set up the page, all I've done is add a page name, and this is how my page will appear, in terms of, where I'm linking to it, and my page URL slug. Now, this is really very important here because your page URL slug is what you can share with individuals to direct them back to the page. So, for example, if your domain name is abcfinancial.com, this page URL would be abcfinancial.com/ and then you can just copy this page URL slug. By sharing that, it'll link them back specifically to this page. Now, as with your page settings, this is similar with all pages and subpages within 20/10. We do have some advanced display options, and we'll get to this here in just a moment. The ability to add background or hero images. Again, images are really highly engaging, and so having more than just readable content is always a really, really good idea. And of course, you can control all of the SEO, the meta descriptions, the metadata for this page, and how it looks when it's shared socially. So if someone were to go to this page and share that URL, across Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., you could very easily, dictate exactly what those social channels display. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to go into that advanced display. And Samantha had made a really good point about, this sounds malicious, I promise it's not, trapping people on the page. We want to be considerate of our bounce rate. We really don't want to give them a lot of doorways out, right? We want to sort of capture them on the page, force them to take sort of the next actionable steps. An easy way to do that is, you can hide your main navigation. So it's not easy to navigate to other portions of your website. And again, right in those page settings, you can go hide main navigation bar. Yes. You can even hide your logo too. So, you can really kind of strategize exactly, how much you want to lock people in. In the background and divider image, this is going to go in that hero section. So I will just go to a folder that I've titled Demo Assets, and I'm just going to use this photo of train tracks. I'll click Open. And then from here, I will simply click Create Page. Right? So right now, I can go down into my other pages, and I can click on my page titled Get Your Financial Life Back on Track. And what I can start to do now is very easily build out the content that I have laid out already. To Sam's point, this specific page and the content that we're going to be adding is the use case that would represent if we already have someone's email and we're simply trying to get them to do a next actionable step, maybe schedule a calendar link or something. So in here, I have some content that I want to pop in. So you'll notice, for those of you that are very familiar with our platform, it's very easy to customize this, right, in all of your content. Down here, you'll see in every page, of course, you have your hero content, which is editable, your page content that is editable, and of course, we're always pulling in your universal footer. So your universal footer is always going to be included across all of your pages. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. And ideally, what I want to do here is I want to have some generalized content, and then I want to have a sidebar, maybe where I can add, you know, a button. Somebody can download a PDF. Maybe I can add a button for a calendar sign up. So what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste this content here. And I'm going to actually first create a little layout. So in our text editor that shows up, this is all inline editing, so you can see these changes as they're being made in real time. You'll see in the bottom right, right next to our code view, you can insert different layouts. And for the purposes of today, I want to be able to have a sidebar to the right. But of course, you can add columns, sidebars, you name it. It's really up to you in sort of how you want your content to display. So now I have the ability to add sort of inside of these, content pieces very, very easily. So I'll go in here. I'm going to just delete this sample content out. I want this to look like paragraph text. And I'll just do this. I can go into my content, and just so you know, I can make things, you know, different headlines. I can go in and, you know, style things. Let's go in here. Just make this standard text. Maybe I actually want to bold this a little bit. I want to make this some bullet points. Right, so really easy to do.
And as Ryan's doing this too, I think just to remember, when it comes to conveying the value that someone's going to get, really, you don't need a lot of copy. It should be just quick and easy for them to scan and see, this is what I'm going to get, or this is what I'm going to learn when I download this guide, or I, you know, read this ebook. Make it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go in here. So as you can see, you know, I've added some content. I mean, we can go in and we can do like a lot of really cool stuff. You know, if you want to style this up, you know, make text bigger, styling, you know, all of that is really easy to edit. Now on the sidebar on the right, you know, there's a couple different things that we can do, right? Now, if we already have someone's email, the strategy of trying to capture their email again is not really effective in this case. Maybe we want to add a document for them to download. And then we want to also add a link where they can connect to our calendar to schedule a 30-minute appointment with us. So I can go here. And we can do that. So maybe let's do this. Let's add a video. Maybe, as Sam said, dynamic content is really, really great. Inserting video is super easy. You know, so many people in the past have had bad experiences with embedding videos and things like that, but this dynamic content is really, really valuable. And the nice thing that we do is, you know, if you have, you know, your video hosted on Vimeo or YouTube, you don't need to mess with those messy embed codes. Just grab that URL. And boom, it's right there, right? We can add buttons. So if we want to say, you know, download our, let's see what we're calling it here, download our guide, you know, we can do that. We can add a button. We simply upload the file. So for those of us, you know, you'll notice across the bottom, this is where you can insert images, you can insert files, videos. In this case, because we want to give them a PDF to download, and we want that to look like a button, we'll just simply click Upload File, and I'll just drag that PDF directly onto the platform. Now we have a link for individuals to be able to effectively click and download that file. Now, truthfully, that display text isn't that clear, right? It's not an actionable statement. But in addition, it's not very clear that maybe it's clickable. So with any link, just so that, you know, we're all clear, if you click, you can edit that link. So in the text here, we can say, you know, download. We can dictate how it opens. Now, again, to be considerate of things like bounce rate, we always want those absolute URLs. So whether it's downloading a file or if something's taking us to another page away from our domain, we want that to open in a new tab. And we'll click Update. Now we'll also go in and we can style that, right? So, that's not that obvious. And one of the things is, calls to action should really stand out. So we can go in here, right? And under style, if you click button, we can actually style things to look like buttons. And there's lots of different ways that you can do this, right? So as soon as you assign it as a button, you have the ability to make it a primary button, a secondary button. You can make that a full width button so that it takes up the full width of that column. And of course, you should be saving these changes along the way. So
if I could just sorry, Ryan, just to slow it down, because I know a lot of people don't realize how to make buttons. Can you just repeat that again? With any link that you have, you can make it into a button.
Yeah, so real quick again, with any link that you have, okay, when that link is on the page, simply click the link and you have the ability to edit the link. So that would be things like the display text and how it opens. Or when you click on any link, you can go to style and you can click button, right? And that styles it to look like a button. And then there's some styles as buttons, right? So you can make it a primary button or a secondary styled button. And of course, sort of if you want to make it the full width of the column instead of just the word, you can do that too.
Perfect, thank you. And one other thing, someone was asking, did you already have that file in your 20/10 library? So he was just showing you how you could add a file to the library, but I think this might be worth just showing where the whole the uploads library is, Ryan, on the site. So if people wanted to upload a bunch at once, they could see where that would live.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I did was, you'll notice that directly from, our text editor in here, I clicked upload file and I just dragged that file directly on. Now, any file that you add to the website is added to your uploads library, and we hold that for you, right? So down here in the bottom left, if I click uploads library, you'll see everything that I upload to the site, imagery, PDFs, files, things like that, we're gonna hang on to. You can search by name, by type, by date. This is the file that I just uploaded, so I can go to like documents, for example, right? If I want to upload a file here first, just for safekeeping, maybe I'm not ready to put it on my website yet, you can absolutely do that. You simply go to click, upload files, select the files that you want to upload, and click open. Now, the cool thing about this too, just so you know, is once they're in your uploads library, you do have links to all those files. So let's say you also want to follow up with an email and give someone a link to that PDF. You can just find the file in your uploads library, copy the link, and add that link, to a social media post, within an email to a client, right? And when they click on it, you'll see that it goes directly to the file that we're referencing.
Perfect. Another question, just going back to the video that someone asked, that we get asked a lot, so it's worth taking a minute to answer. Someone asked, if you share a video on your page and you're uploading it from Vimeo or YouTube, when the video is over, what happens? A lot of people get frustrated a lot of advisors get frustrated when they share a video on their site from YouTube, and then when the video is done playing, a bunch of irrelevant videos that they haven't produced or added are shown as the next available options. Let me just say, if you want to avoid that from happening, use Vimeo. With Vimeo, you can only show your own videos, and when the file is done being played or the video is done being played, you can have the ability to either have other videos you've created be shown or not. So you have more room to kind of master what it is that you want to show up or not if you're using Vimeo. That being said, YouTube is an actual search engine. It's the most popular search engine after Google right now. So if you're looking for more SEO juice for your videos, then it may be worth putting them both on Vimeo for when you want to embed it in landing pages, as well as on YouTube for the search function there. Okay, so then the next question, so I guess, Ryan, I know you've done all you can from here, but so this would
Well,
be,
actually, Sam, if I could just keep going, I want to add a calendar link in
oh,
here too.
perfect.
And this would be a little bit different. So where we added a link that would specifically reference a file, I think it's also worth discussing how to just simply add a link from scratch. So a lot of us have links that we want to share, say, to a calendar, maybe via Calendly or something else. In that case, right, let's say I want to add a calendar link. As long as you have that URL, right, and you copy it either, you know, from your browser or from that Calendly account, you can actually just go right into your page and you can add, you know, links directly as well. So schedule a 30-minute consultation, right? And maybe I want to go in and I want to style this as another heading. I can go in and click, again, directly from the editor, right? I just click insert that link. Now, again, this text area here, I can go and schedule today and dictate that it opens in a new window. And of course, just like before, because it is a link, just as every link in our platform, you can go in and you can edit, or you can go in and style it. So if you want it to be a little bit more actionable, a little bit more obvious, you can style it as a button. And I'll click Save Changes. So now, you know, just like that, very, very easily, you can see this is my build URL. I don't have this connected to a domain. But if I go into my page settings, and I just simply copy that URL and add it to my page. Sorry about that. You'll see here is my landing page, customized, right? So a little bit of content here, video, you know, and you can do a lot, right? I always think it's a really good idea to go in and assess what it looks like at full screen on mobile too, so you can see how everything's looking, and this will all be built out for you. Of course, just keep in mind, like with any page, as you're making changes and you're clicking Save Changes, you still have to proceed through the publish step for this to be live. So for many of us, if that means that we're connected with a broker-dealer, they will still need the opportunity to review. So you'll want to make sure that you're not sharing links to this page until it's actually live at your domain, meaning that you or your compliance team has fully approved and the site is published. So sorry, Sam, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. I just wanted to make sure that we got to those links as well. So what were you going to say?
Yes, so I just wanted to show, or to say, so somebody was asking, and they were kind of beating us to it. Okay, what if you wanted to sort of gate the content a little bit more and you didn't have their email and you wanted to collect an email, what would you do? So this would be a different use case, right? So this is for driving traffic to a page to collect emails, and Ryan's going to show us what it would look like in that use case.
Yeah, so in this case, we have some built-in forms that are baked into the platform that can help you capture email addresses or capture more details if necessary. So here in that right sidebar, I'm just going to change some of the content there and some of the calls to actions. I'm just going to say contact us today. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a short form that captures email addresses. What that means is that email address will be alerted via email, and we can follow up natively with any sort of content, any sort of follow-up that's necessary. It's really easy to do. Again, in here, all we'll do is we will hit Insert Contact Form, Add Minimal, right? So again, when we go into that page, and I look at it at full screen, right, you can have that email. Now, of course, you can put this in any content area too. So if you want to put this over your hero image, you can, right? So if you wanted to do that maybe up here, you absolutely have the opportunity to as well, right? So, you know, things like that are really easy to do. Long form contact forms are also built in as well. So if we want to capture names, emails, phones, and messages, we can do that too. One important point is we do have some integrations with some very popular CRMs. So if you go over to site settings, and let's say you have a long form in here where you're capturing names, emails, phones, and messages, or even a short form where you're just capturing email addresses, you can connect this to, say, your MailChimp or your Redtail CRMs so that that info is populating those CRMs. So here under site settings, under integrations, you can see it's very easy to simply click set up and add your account information, so that that information that's being entered is going to be added to your CRM automatically. Now, in this case, you'll be alerted when somebody submits their form, right? So it's not automated that at that point it will deploy a PDF. In an instance where you want sort of an automatic deployment, somebody enter their email and then they get a message via email that deploys maybe a PDF, you'll want to do that through something like MailChimp. And Sam, if you wanted to talk about that briefly, you certainly can.
Yeah, Amanda actually shared an article in the chat already. So if you're trying to set up gated content where they have to give you their email to get the download first or things like that, we have some different ways you can do it. There is an article that Amanda shared in the chat box. It's you wouldn't just click in the form. So if you want it to be more automated rather than what we're showing you here, which is a little bit more manual, then you would want to follow those steps. So again, it's going to depend upon what you're using, and that's why it's just a little bit more of a manual process. And we'll, of course, include those instructions in the webinar replay. But again, if you're using MailChimp or Constant Contact, we would just set it up so that not only would they be being added to your list, but once they put in their email and click sign me up, they would be added to that MailChimp list, and MailChimp would deploy whatever that asset is, so like the ebook, directly to them. So it would all happen behind the scenes on your behalf.
Yeah.
So a couple other like technical questions that had come in. Somebody had asked, like in the previous example, would that be 2 calls to actions on the same page? Yes, in that previous example where we had download the guide and sign up for our calendar, it would. We're trying to just show you all the different things you can do with the landing page. We still do suggest you only have 1 call to action per page. We're just trying to show you lots of different ways you can set them up and the way the tool can be used to be really efficient. The only other thing, Ryan, I thought I would be helpful to show is, because you have the ability with 20/10 to make as many of these landing pages as you want, but maybe you set one up and you think, oh, this looks really good. I'd like to have, 5 versions of what I just created. Can you show people how to duplicate a page?
Yeah, absolutely. So duplicating pages is actually really, really simple. It's a functionality that we've added in 20/10 within the last few months, and it was a big request. So, if you set, up one landing page, you can see, it's really quick to do. We're showing you a lot of different variations and examples and things like that. But let's say your landing pages are all going to follow the same general format. Maybe you just want to switch out some calls to actions, etc. On any page on your website, whether it's part of your main navigation or your landing pages, if you hover over any page, you'll see this new additional icon to duplicate. And all you have to do there is click and confirm that you want to copy the page. And you'll see that you get a second page, with new content, which is really nice. So you, can go in, you'll want to, make changes again within the page settings and to any content that's necessary here. We do by default label it a copy.
Yeah, so this would be great, right? If like you had 5 different niche groups you were going to serve and you wanted to create a landing page for each, you could create that first landing page and then just go back and edit out the copy and the imagery, but keep the bones of the structure for all the subsequent pages.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question. And duplicating pages, I think, is a really good way if you are doing a lot of landing pages. And again, as Samantha said, there is no additional charge. You can truly have as many landing pages as you need. It makes it very, very quick. So within just, a few seconds, you can create really dynamic landing pages that target niche groups. Maybe you're going after medical professionals, people at universities and institutions, educators and professionals. You can do that, switch out some of your language. Maybe you have the same, general call to actions, schedule a 30-minute consultation or, contact us today. again,
well,
that
I
single
know.
actionable step is really important.
Perfect. Thanks for showing us that. So I know we're almost at the top of the hour here. Thank you, everyone, for all the great questions you've asked. We have one more thing we want to show you, which is a new landing page we just launched for a incredibly exciting product that we have coming out next quarter. And actually, Ryan, I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, this is something I honestly couldn't be more excited about. As 20 over 10 continues to build and innovate, we're taking feedback from our users from these, amazing webinars and the feedback that we get to create the tools, not only that people want, but the tools that people need. And it's tools for you, right? So we're building with an advisor-first mentality. This new product, Market Assist, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but you're going to see this launch formally in Q1. It's going to be a lead generation, lead qualification tool that can really serve as the epicenter for your digital marketing. Create customized content, hassle-free, launch brand-centric, lead-converting landing pages, no development needed. Get your content in front of leads, qualify those leads, and of course, everything will be built around your brand, totally compliant, secured, and archived. I honestly think this is going to be an absolute game changer for the financial industry. I think the days of the financial industry trying to catch up to the rest of the world in terms of marketing are going to be completely over. This is going to be something where I think other industries are going to start to look forward at, financial advisors as sort of front edge leaders in digital marketing to create valuable content, but more importantly, get it in front of people so that they can start to take those leads and convert them into clients.
And we're really excited. It's going to be website agnostic. So if you're on right now and you're not a 20 over 10 client, you don't need to be using our websites in order to use Market Assist. So go to marketassist.io. That's our landing page we've created. So what a great segue to put your email address in. And we're going to have a very special exclusive first month where you can try it out. And so if you sign up there, you can get early access to that when we do release it. Ryan, if you want to click that, read our blog too. So for all of you who are interested in landing pages and just everything inbound marketing and how this all works together, we've launched a blog to go with Market Assist that has everything you could want to know about inbound marketing. So this is another resource that you can check out to get tons of information specifically about inbound marketing, creating landing pages, the emails you send. So many things that we don't cover with our 20 over 10 website platform will be covered and assessed here with Market Assist and with this blog. So yes, please do sign up. We're incredibly excited. Like I said, if you put your email address in, we will send you information about the platform, when it's being released, more information about what all it encompasses, and you can be one of the first people to try it out.